Hello, I'm Matt Guff from House.com, and I'm here with a couple of great guys from Ride Snowboards. We've got Jim Limburg, brand manager.
Yes.
Right? And then we have Dan Sasser. Dan, thanks for being here. Dan is one of the binding engineers, and they're going to walk us through the 2018 kind of couple of special bindings we have in the line. We have LX, EX, Rodeo, and El Jefe. Bindings are meant to keep people's feet on their boards. And Ride has always done a really good job at that. We've had a lot of unique designs compared to a lot of other companies within the industry. What can you kind of tell me about the Ride bindings just in general off the top?
I mean, the key thing that that sets kind of Ride bindings apart from everybody else is we're using an aluminum chassis, so an aluminum base plate and an aluminum heel cup. And the reason we've stuck with that for so long, the reason why we're doing that is the aluminum chassis allows you to have a much smaller footprint on the board. So the board can flex more around it. You can see this is our plastic chassis, and if you put them up together, we designed this plastic one to be as narrow as possible, but there's quite a bit of overhang on the plastic one, so that wider base tray gives you a less consistent flex. So we want to use a material that you can use less of to really get the maximum performance out of weight savings and just less of anything.
Yeah.
It's also got a lot more durability to it than plastic. In general, I mean, you'll see a Ride aluminum binding from 10 years ago that people are still riding, and
right.
You don't really see that with a lot of plastic.
Dude, there was that warranty guy. There was a guy who used to call in every single year, and he would order different. He would like, I need this strap, and then he'd hang up and call again and be like, I need this other strap. And they finally caught him. he was getting a new binding, and he was putting him on like a 10-year-old binding.
Yeah. Oh, really?
And they were sending him out for free every year, and they're like, they were so mad. The warranty guys were like, what? Why is this? I was like, we should give that guy.
Smart.
We should call him. That's awesome. But you see that a lot because that aluminum, that's the other thing too, lifetime warranty on the aluminum. So bend it or break it, we will replace it on the base plate and heel cup. It's pretty tough to break them unless you're a Midwest kid hucking triples.
Sure.
Yep.
one of your guys out here, Lucas. Like a big man, just hucking triples to flat. He sent back 2, I think, one year. That was the most I've ever seen him.
First year.
Yeah. Brian Robin, or who was that?
I don't know. Smooches. Who was the guy who was like smashing bindings?
Is that Lucas?
The 6'2".
Lucas he's like 5'8" ish, and maybe $150. He's not too big.
Billy, that's who it was.
Oh, Billy Bjork. Yeah.
Billy looks like a fullback. Yeah. And I'm like, he's not breaking these. He's there's something going on. Send me the video. And he sends me a video of this Billy kid going. I mean, he took a jump so far to flat and just man stopped like, bro. Yeah. And rode out. So, but we just replace them if you do. If you have any issues. I think that year. That was probably the only 2 bindings that came back.
From Billy Bjork.
I know it's funny. It was the same guy, but yeah. So lifetime warranty.
That's right. But yeah, it's something like the stat is something like 1 in 170,000 come back or something.
It's for the chassis for sure. People get mad because the ratchets or whatever. That's all those parts are replaceable.
Of course.
You strip that out. But a lot of times people will be like, oh, I want a warranty. It's like, no, we'll just send you a new strap. You can fix it. But you see so few of those coming back. And right. So let's kind of like walk through the line. We have kind of I like to say entry point kind of binding, but a lot of freestyle kids ride that because it's a touch softer, and then all the way up to like a crazy carbon, El Jefe binding. Let's kind of go through what's special about the LX there.
Well, the LX, I mean, as you said, it's an entry-level binding, and it's a little bit softer. We've got plastic down there at the most affordable prices. Yep. And it really gives people a good way to just kind of get into it and try it out from kind of the bottom up. I don't know, do you have anything you want to really specifically call out on this?
Yeah, so I mean, people a lot of times will ask, whoa, why are you making a plastic binding? And the idea was, aluminum's expensive. That's all it comes down to is aluminum's an expensive material to work with. And to get to that price point, the sub $200 price point, we cannot make an aluminum binding. It just can't be done. So there was a lot of debate internally, should we even sell bindings at that price? But we think that we can give you enough features to be competitive down there. I mean, if you compare that to any other binding at its price point, it's also plastic. All the competitors are, and there's a lot of features on here. Stance correct high back, wedgie footbeds. You can rotate the high back, and this thing is as competitive as anything down there at that price. So so it's really a price play. Our first 2 price points, we just can't afford to make them in aluminum. So we went out and designed the Spectrum chassis with some of the ideas of the aluminum, that narrow base, the narrow footprint, and did the best we could with the plastic. And that's a good riding binding. There's a couple reps that they'll piece together a plastic one with a carbon high back or something. They'll rip
just
around
have fun,
yeah. So
well, we have some people in house that like to ride that one, like Troy.
Yep.
He goes for it.
Yeah.
That's
right.
Spectrum chassis.
And it's on a wedgie footbed. That's a great. You can adjust the footbed out. There's lots of cushioning, and it's canted. It's like for a sub $200 binding, that's pretty dope.
Yep.
Right. And then we have the EX, kind of like the next step up, moving into an aluminum style chassis, adjustable style high back, or of course adjustable high back, but also a heel cup wedgie footbed. That's a really good selling binding here. Cool colorway for the season as well.
Yeah, and that's where we can now afford to do aluminum on it, and we've got all of the adjustability. So that, excuse me, this is the Edge chassis, and it's got the same adjustability as the higher Infinity chassis that we have, but it's just a really low profile, kind of not quite as good of a performance out of the Infinity as you get on the EX, but you still get the durability out of the aluminum. You still get everything that you need there, just with a little bit of a softer feel to it than the Infinity chassis.
So yeah, comparatively, compare that's sub 250. EX and Revolt have the same chassis there,
right?
And sub 250, I'll stand behind that's probably the most performance binding you can get at that price. We're constantly margin challenged there because it is expensive to make that aluminum base plate, but we think it's important for that customer. Maybe you don't have quite enough money to get up into that $250, $300 price range for some of the Infinity chassis. So we spent a lot of time to really design, a chassis that we think is fitting for a guy in the mid-range price points.
Right. Yep. And then moving into the rodeo, this has been a line for a long time. A lot of freestyle riders are on this thing, but it's a fantastic all-mountain kind of like free ride style binding. Always comes in cool colorways as well. You guys did a High Cascade collab with this one.
Yep.
You see a lot of team riders on it. What's the story behind the rodeo? Like, how did it get its name? How did you guys?
That's a
how
good
did it get its
question.
name? Yeah.
Where did the rodeo come from?
It's a good name for a binding.
Yeah, it is a good name. I think we inherited that one. Which is pretty good. I think actually most of the binding names we inherited. I don't think we renamed one binding.
Yeah.
The rodeo, I guess probably from the idea was to when the rodeo came out, that was kind of replace that movement series binding, the Delta, Alpha, Beta, and get that same torsional flex, but the response of the aluminum and the smaller footprint. So I think maybe the freestyle name, that's probably where they came up with it, the freestyle nature of it. So yeah.
And you notice too, like I mentioned earlier, this is the Infinity chassis versus the Edge chassis. And if you see down on the side, the rail comes all the way towards the front, so you get more leverage on, for example, a heel side turn out of geometry like this when compared to the Edge chassis. So as soon as you get into this rodeo and above level, you get that more performance out of it, specifically in this case on heel side turns, just because of that leverage that you get under the ball of your foot.
Right.
Yeah, that's a key one too. Is that, and then along with that adjustable heel cup. There's some major binding competitors out there that have a fixed heel cup, and that's a big detriment if you're not the perfect size that binding's designed for. Our bindings will fit 8 to 11 on the large, I think.
Yep.
9 to 11, depending on the boot. 12, yeah, right, with the boot size. So, but with that, the competitors will fit the same one, but if you got a fixed heel cup, then either you're way forward, the ball of your foot is way forward or way back. So with this, you can take these screws out and you move it back to get that custom fit, and it really allows you to dial it in, and then, like Daniel was saying, you get the aluminum all the way to the front. You get really good power transfer to you.
Yeah, that's great because if you want, I guess, proper fit, you want to make sure the center of your boot's in the center of your bindings, not shifted towards your board. Yeah, towards that edge, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
So it's it's a.
Now this one has always been great. The El Jefe, top of the line, comes in a really cool case, carbon high back, mold injected style straps. What's up with this thing?
Yeah, new case on this one this year, right?
Yeah, new case.
So,
do we want to talk about how many beers you can hold?
Yeah,
how many beers?
You can fit a whole 24 pack in that case.
Of 12 ounce cans?
Yep.
Awesome.
You can fit 18, 16 ounce cans, I think. 18
Yes.
tall boys.
Do you guys engineer that with that intent?
I won't say we did it.
So that case is thing's new this year. Pretty cool. So the El Jefe, kind of our top end. We wanted to make a binding, really aggressive riding, free ride, kind of do everything binding. Bindings are tough because you say freestyle free riding. It's really preference. Some people like to ride. I got really good friends who ride rodeo, all mountain. They like just that little bit more flex, and there's guys want to ride park in this. So this just is a real precise feeling binding. What's cool about the high back you can talk about, Daniel, is the carbon slime back construction that we have in there.
Yeah, so the carbon slime back has, we include TPU in it, just like we use on our boards for slime walls and our boots for slime tongues.
Yes.
And it gives you just a really damp, vibration absorbing feel to it. So that chatter that you get when you're going over bulletproof ice or anything like that is just more absorbed by it. And if you go ride some of the competitors' carbon product, you get a lot of chatter and a lot of muscle fatigue because of that.
Yep.
So frequently people are kind of scared of carbon. They flex it and it's so stiff. Some people just need that stiffest thing. Our approach to it, you really don't need that super stiff pure carbon feel because it doesn't really gain you anything after a certain point. So like I said, you get less muscle fatigue out of this. You still get enough stiffness that it's more than sufficient for any kind of riding need you have. And like Jim was saying, some people just rail on this in the park and some people go big mountain. My personal preference is this binding. I think it just gives me that right blend of support and flex where I want it. And just like with most of our slimeback highbacks, you can see that there's a lot more torsional flexibility or rigidity, depending on how you want to talk about it. And that's really a key thing to this binding because without any torsional flex, you're just locked in one position. You can't lean into your turns. You can't, you can't even butter properly.
Right.
You just don't get as much mobility when you want it. And then the other thing you mentioned is this injected strap. This thing is, if you look back at ride history, we've had kind of attempts, forays into trying to do something like this. Previously it was two-dimensional, and this one is 3D molded, so it actually comes out of the mold looking like looking like a Pringle like that, where it's curved one way and then also over your boot. And so that gives you just the best fit, especially over a ride boot that you could possibly get. And so you really don't need a huge thick EVA pad that you're going to crush through when you ratchet down as tight as you want.
Right.
The one thing you do get out of this is, at least when I ride it, I usually don't even have to ratchet. I can just slide it into place and it's tight enough just like that. If you want to get those couple extra clicks, you can, but it's really not necessary.
Yeah, that you don't. That's what's cool about the padless style strap, and that's Daniel said Ride has done that a couple times over the years, and I think being that it was 2D before you'd create pressure points, but this 3D one you can really crank it down, and you don't need the extra weight and the extra material of the EVA. So the idea is hey, let's make it as Spartan as possible, as just what you need, nothing that you don't. So and that strap has been a big performance boost for us. I think we made up we've got Blauvelt testing him. He's been riding that strap on a couple different binding variations. Is he riding? He's basically riding El Jefe at this point.
Yeah, he's riding. He's got our prototype stiffer version of this strap. that he really likes. And it's funny because we got the stiffer version made, and it kind of scared everybody. In office, we were all like, oh, what have we done? And then we've all gotten on it. Everybody in-house that snowboards for ride, as well as some of our test riders like pro riders like Jake Walsh, Jake Blauvelt, those guys have all gotten on the super stiff version of it that in hand it just is so rigid. And then you go ride it and you're like,
love it.
This is great. I've got all of the response I want. I can get on my toe side super fast. No like lag time between trying to lean forward and initiate your turn or anything. So it's really,
I think that shape and the material, it's a really good feature for that binding.
Right.
Really good advantage.
Right. And it molds well to any boot, but there's something really special about a ride boot fitting into a ride binding. Like it works seamlessly.
Yeah, and that's kind of and that's the idea. It's not that we don't want it to fit our competitors, but we want it to fit everything. But there's just so much variation. So, Daniel sits next to Steph in the boot section. So, if we need to test, hey, how's this going to fit? It automatically kind of falls to that. And then if we have issues, we try and test it with all the competitors before we put it out. If there's a huge issue, we may change it. But it really is. If you're in the ride boots or ride bindings, they are, they're designed in conjunction. And the same thing with the boards, we talk about those fun shapes, those really wide snowboards, and there's a couple huge advantages using an aluminum chassis on a really wide snowboard. You got that response, toe heel response. You got the adjustability, so you're centered on it, which is more important the wider that snowboard gets. So we, like I said, we do our best to test it with other competitors' products, and we're always riding. There's a bunch of guys around the office, around Seattle, other companies that will go and try and test their stuff, and we'll go to the demos and swap stuff out. But it really is, they're really kind of built around as a package, which is pretty good.
Awesome.
There are a couple other things too that are worth mentioning on this binding. One on the ankle strap, the durability of this injected strap. I'm sure you've seen other EVA straps with a big foam pad and a laminate surrounding it. And after a season of riding, it's shredded. It's falling apart. This strap will last as long as our aluminum chassis will.
Right.
So you won't ever have any issues with, I ripped the strap in half.
My padding maxed out.
My padding's behind me somewhere on the hill. And then the other thing too on this one is you've got the urethane,
that's a big one.
The damping pad here. It's called the Urethane Roll Bar. And on like any of our other bindings down Rodeo and below, you get an EVA pad on the underside. And so the EVA is nice. It gives you a little bit of cushion, a little bit of damping, but really the urethane on the bottom just makes your ride that much more comfortable. Just like in the high back, it just smooths out some of those vibrations. You get a much more pleasant ride.
And you get that on Capo.
You get that on Capo and El Jefe.
Yep. And that's a good thing for like a stiffer performing style binding to have the overall comfort underfoot of urethane as well.
Yep.
Yeah.
That's good. Guys, thank you so much for being here. Jim.
Yeah.
Always a pleasure.
Thanks.
Daniel, thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Make sure to check out all of the ride bindings we have here at thehouse.com. Leave some comments and questions, and make sure to subscribe to the channel as well. Thanks again for watching. See you guys around.
All right.